Welcome, Reds, the 100% United pod. I'm your host, TC, and I'm joined again by my co-host, Scott. Hello, mate.
How are you? Everything all right?
I'm good, thanks. What about yourself? You been in the wars with your dog?
Yeah, a little bit, but don't worry, I'll live to fight another day.
Good, man. Look, on today's show, we bring you all the latest Manchester United transfer rumours and news. Earlier, I linked up with an Ajax fan and host of their number one podcast to get the inside scoop on Donny van der Beek as well. So we've got that really interesting chat coming up later in the show. First, though, Scott, let's start with our lads on international duty. Dylan Levitt making his debut for God's country, Daniel James starring alongside him, and David De Gea back to something like his best in a Spanish shirt.
Yeah, it was wonderful to see, wasn't it? Dylan Levitt especially was a joy to behold.
Yes, I mean, to be fair, he was only really upstaged by his teammate, Daniel James, but in terms of his effect on the game, he was number one out of the Welsh midfielders and attackers in terms of tackles 4, touches 68, passes 56, and he had an 84% passing accuracy too. Played 90 minutes. He's played as much for Wales as he has for United.
Oh, he actually made his Wales debut before he's made his league debut for United, right?
Absolutely. He played in the Europa League, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, really great stuff from him. Stars of that FA Youth Cup team a couple of years ago, now getting up to senior level. And surely Mason Greenwood going to join him over the weekend.
You'd think so, right? You'd definitely think so.
You would indeed. We'll have a chat about the games coming up in a set, but just a little word on Daniel James. He set up a disallowed goal after 3 minutes. He set up the winner, beg your pardon. He played on the left wing and looked like he might be a bit rejuvenated after this rest he's had.
Looked all right, didn't he? Yeah, definitely looked pretty good.
He did, and that was previously regarded as his favourite position. So we might be in for a bit of a good season, I think, from Daniel James, being able to come off the bench like we thought he should be able to last season, just gradually put him into the side. Hopefully we're going to have another right-wing option in there. Mason Greenwood, of course, has made himself a massive option on the right wing too. So it might be that we'll see Daniel James coming on when games are stretched, when other teams are maybe chasing an equaliser against us, and we see him using that pace and really having an effect like he did, as we said on the pod last week, at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and similar to what I said to you the other day, that the fact he scored 3 goals in his first 4 or 5 games for United, I think put unnecessary pressure on him, didn't it? And half the United fans were expecting him to get 15, 20 goals last year, and the fact that he only got 1 after his first 5 games, yeah, I think it just put unnecessary pressure on him.
Yeah, I think you're right, Scott. And realistically, that pressure now has been released. So hopefully we will see that rejuvenation. He certainly looked sharp and he looked happy as well. So that was great to see. The big standout of the night was David De Gea. He conceded 1 against Germany. It was not a really stoppable finish from Timo Werner. Apart from that, he made about 7 saves. He made a couple of saves that were, well, there was one particular that was flagged offside that was sensational as well. He looked like he was maybe up for the challenge that's been laid down to him.
It definitely did, right? There certainly seemed to be a change in impetus in David De Gea's performance last night.
Yeah, with Dave, he always has a haircut when he means business, right? He restyles.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah. So he's gone for the very short look now. And yeah, he was up for it. And it was good to see. As we say, there has been a gauntlet laid down to him by Dean Henderson. He's said in the last few days that he hasn't come back to United to sit on the bench. He's so close to getting that number 1 shirt, and he wants to grab it off David De Gea. He's pretty much point blank challenged David De Gea to a duel.
Yeah, and let's hope it brings the best out of both of them.
Yes. I mean, we've talked about this battle for the number 1 shirt and how it might have a negative effect on the club as a whole. The other thing to bear in mind is the season starts, of course, but then the transfer window doesn't shut until October the 5th. So it might be the case that Dean Henderson stays. If David De Gea starts those first few games, it's possible that we do end up sending him out on loan still, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point,
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that. And look, I think everyone's looking forward tonight to have a little peek at Donny van der Beek.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Van der Beek. Donny van der Beek.
More on him later in the show. I had a great chat to Arco, the Ajax fan. So we'll get a bit more in-depth knowledge about what kind of a player he is, what kind of a character he is. That was really cool to chat to him. Look, before we get onto the transfers, United fans' eyes and ears are perked up hearing Alexis Sanchez giving a little lowdown on recent history. I know you were messaging me last night, doing a bit of Spanish translation yourself, Scott.
I did pretty good, no?
You did do pretty well.
Yeah, I actually did pretty well.
You did pretty well. Look, he's come out and said...
That's working in a kitchen for 20 years. Yeah, I can understand pretty good Spanish, yeah. Especially when it's derogatory, yeah.
Yeah, so look, he was saying that on his first day of training, he came back and he called his agent, he wanted to rip up the contract and go back to Arsenal. I mean, let's be honest, Scott, some people just can't hack it at a big club.
Definitely not. I mean, after one day, yeah, it's a shame we didn't get rid of him sooner.
Pathetic.
Yeah.
Absolutely pathetic. And although some people are saying, look, that shows that there was a toxicity in the dressing room, but it also shows that he's not a leader. He's not willing to come in and change that, and actually have a positive influence.
Yeah, it shows we signed the wrong player, the wrong kind of player, right?
Yeah, we really did. I did enjoy Raphael, our old right back's comment on his post, saying maybe he saw a ghost. That's why he was so rubbish every week, which was quite nice. I thought fantastic stuff, getting his jibes in. So look, yeah, not great stuff, but that ship has long sailed. We're better off without him, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Look, just one little note. I caught my eye that the 5 sub thing has definitely been called off now. So we're going to be down to 3 subs for the next season. Back to the way really it should be. Maybe not so good for the youngsters coming through, but it looks like a number of them are going to be going out on loan anyway. So look, we'll go with whatever we got. And to be fair, Ollie doesn't like to use his subs too much anyway, does he?
No, definitely likes his first 11, doesn't he?
He does. Look, onto the transfers, Scott. The Jadon look, after Van der Beek got sealed, the Sancho noises gradually started coming up again. There's been a few little things popping up. Look, there was a notification really coming through. Some sources have got links at both clubs saying United and Dortmund have agreed to do things a bit more professionally and not do so much mudslinging in the coming days in regards to Jadon Sancho. And you sort of thought maybe they're laying down the foundations to actually push this deal over the line.
Yeah, I can completely understand that, right? Yeah, both United and Dortmund hire PR agencies to try and hammer this deal out behind closed doors, out of the way of the media, and it completely backfired, right?
Yeah.
I just hope that it hasn't backfired too much, that if Woodward does call Zorc, that he isn't hung up on or laughed at, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, look, it might be the fact that the negotiations with Ajax were so great and so easy to do that Dortmund have gone, oh God, but we look like bloody idiots here. And United have said, look, we can do it a different way as well. The rumours coming out of Germany are that the 120 million euro fee does stand, but Dortmund have basically promised Jadon Sancho that if that fee is matched, then he gets their blessing and he can leave the club, which really explains the silence from the Jadon Sancho camp in terms of not nailing his colours to the Dortmund mast. The other leak coming out are that the fee is not a problem and Dortmund will accept the terms that we want to do and the instalments that we want to pay. And on top of that, it's just the agent fees that need to be sorted, and we are confident of getting them sorted in the next few days.
Yeah, let's hope so. I'm a bit more confident about it. Maybe not confident enough to guarantee you a full kit of the Dazzle camo and number 7 Sancho, but I'm pretty confident.
Yes, well, it's actually probably a good time that the number 7 remains free. There's been a couple of number changes just today. I have to say, Scott, you called it first. I didn't hear it anywhere else. And I look on a blooming hell of a lot of United news sources, and you came up with that first. Mason Greenwood, number 11.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Donny van der Beek, number 34, because I called that too. Yeah, 2 for 2 on the squad numbers.
Yeah. I mean, the 34 was a very good guess.
Yeah.
The number 11 was a little bit more of research from you, I believe. But yeah, you stole that line off me as well. I had that written down on my notes. Next was that he'll probably take number 34, and you came in and
here we go,
and took me. But what do you think?
Here we go. You've been stealing my goals from goal of the season for 2 years now. Having a laugh, you.
Look, Mason Greenwood, number 11. What do you make of it? Of course, Ryan Giggs, made that number an absolute, one of the biggest numbers at United. George Best wore it a hell of a lot of times as well. What do you make of Mason Greenwood stepping into those shoes?
I'm chuffed. Chuff for the lad. It's taken less than 2 years since we didn't even take his numbers to Paris that game. For him to get the illustrious number 11 is wonderful for the kid. And I really think he's going to wear it for years to come, do it proud like Giggsy did.
Very good point, Scott. For people who don't know, Mason Greenwood with the kit man, had to borrow some PSG numbers, black out the emblem and stick them on the back for a Greenwood number 54, I think it was.
Yeah, it was 54. Yeah, no one really notices. The picture of him coming on, the font of the name is completely different.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, an unbelievable meteoric rise from Mason Greenwood.
And fully deserved as well. Fully deserved. I remember when Januzaj got it, it was maybe a bit early, right? But this for Mason, for me at least, I was thinking at least he might tick number 7. But
yeah, well, maybe that's on hold, Scott.
Maybe,
but yeah, you're right. But you do forget how good possibly Adnan Januzaj was. He burst onto the scene, and it was, he was looking absolutely fantastic, wasn't he? So.
Would you let him polish Mason's boots, though? I don't know.
Seems like a fitting job.
Well, Mason's magic, mate. Come on.
He is indeed, you're right. Look, Brandon Williams also moving from 53 down to number 33.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of people saying that he might be moving over to right back. Seems like a double left back number.
Probably go down to number 3 soon, too.
We will see. Eric Bailly, of course, takes the number 3. You've got 2 centre-backs, haven't we, taken up the full-back numbers, which I'm not particular fan of.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. Mourinho was awful at giving out squad numbers, wasn't he?
Dear me, was it Gallas number 10 at one stage?
Yeah.
Oh, that was Arsenal. No, that was Arsenal, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Arsenal. But
Chelsea had a number 9, I think.
Boularus.
Oh, you're having a laugh.
Boularus.
Get out of town.
Doesn't that before Mourinho, though?
I don't know, but it was absolutely...
There have been some naughty squad numbers.
It was...
Rui Patricio, number 11 for me, is still unforgivable.
Oh, come off it, mate. I hate that stuff. I really do. Dear
no,
me.
that winds you up.
Look, talking about fullbacks, Reguilon from Real Madrid, of course, people have been familiar with him from Sevilla. Sport in Spain have been saying that we have popped €30 million bid in, and we're willing to pull the trigger and get him in as backup as an attacking left back. What do you think of that news?
I'm all right with it. Definitely all right.
Yeah?
Not a good play. I'm just not interested in these buyback clauses. So we'll see if we can hammer out a deal without one of them on the table.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of them either, although I would add that Real Madrid are very, very good at getting buyback clauses in there. Mm-hmm. And the likelihood is there's going to be a 45 to 50 million euro buyback clause in there that they would insist on. You know what? For a 15 to 20 million euro profit, when we've still got Shaw and Brandon there, it might be a goer. I don't think we should make a habit of it, but it might be something that we'd be willing to think about just to get a player of his standard and his sort of profile in terms of the attacking ability in.
Yeah, but that's definitely one I can see. You wait till the last day of the window and all of a sudden they're desperate for money and that buyback clause gets taken off.
We can just promise Real we'll think of them first, yeah?
Yeah, of course, always.
Thiago Alcantara played for Spain as well. The rumours are still circling him. I don't know if that might be a tactic because Liverpool seem to be stalling until the likely departure of Wijnaldum over to Barcelona. I know Koeman's a massive fan, and then Liverpool would then pull the trigger on getting Thiago in. I don't know if it's a negotiation tactic to try and hurry Liverpool up. At the moment, I suspect it might be just from a sort of just from a feeling.
I think it is, yeah. It stinks of the Gabriel's to Arsenal signing, right?
Yes.
We were never in for him, but they put our name on that to try and get Arsenal to hurry up. Still took 3 weeks.
Yeah, and then everyone loses their stuff because Arsenal have beaten us to a player. Well done, guys.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. Never even in for him.
So I doubt it with that. He's such a good player, but at the same time, we have got Donny in now, and we have got quite a few midfielders. So if we did get him in, you'd expect there to be one of those midfielders getting the chop. Talking about players leaving the club, Roma, as we discussed, have been taken over, and they have come back in for Chris Smalling. It seems like they're offering less though now, doesn't it, Scott? I mean, it's down to €9 million plus 4 in add-ons, but of course they factor in the 3 million they've already paid us apparently for the loan. Oh, come on, pay up, I say.
technically he came back to us, right? So he's our player, so loan's over.
Yeah, it seems a bit silly. I mean, he's been one of the best centre-backs in Italy this season, and I think the price should be a little bit higher, realistically. I think it's they just know probably that we have a habit of selling under the market price and trying to squeeze us on that one.
Yeah, or there's maybe murmurs that we need some of that money to pay the rest of Sancho, so they're trying to dig their heels in because they know we sort of need the money.
Yeah. But look, there looks to be a lot more movement now. The Donny deal has hurried everything along, so it's looking a lot more positive than it did a week ago, Scott.
Isn't it unbelievable the difference a week makes? A week ago, people were pulling their hair out, abusing the club.
Yeah.
And now there's just an optimism and an encouraging signs. It's unbelievable the difference one signing in 1 week makes.
Give it another signing, Scott, and we'll have the memes of Ed Woodward as the Don and all the rest of it coming out again, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Knee nutters.
Yeah.
Look, the under-23s lost, unfortunately, 5-0 to Doncaster in a pre-season friendly. It was behind closed doors and it wasn't shown. So, unfortunately, we don't have the coverage on the pod today. It's something we want to do this season more, keep a focus on those young players. If they go out on loan, keep tabs on them. It looked like there was quite a few big names rested, and of course Levitt was getting his international debut. So nothing too much to worry about. But yeah, they went down 5-0, unfortunately.
Did you see the old Dortmund winger on the bench?
Yes, he was meant to start. He was meant to start number 7.
He was, yeah.
And we were thinking, here we go, hang about, trialist. That's a bit harsh.
Yeah. I don't know why he wasn't allowed to play.
Yeah, he's playing for England tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Jadon Sancho.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No, I was saying Rami Bagara, something like that. An old Dortmund winger was supposed to play for us last night.
It was, yeah.
He got
at the last minute, he was withdrawn and popped on the bench.
He wasn't even on the bench. He wasn't allowed to play.
Had his head in his hands, didn't he? Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, let's hope on that international duty. I think Dean Henderson and Mason Greenwood, are they the only United boys up there with Jadon Sancho?
Yeah, I mean, Marcus was in the pictures, wasn't he? The old bromance, blimey.
He'll be WhatsApping him anyway. But I wonder if Mason Greenwood's got the plums to start buttering Sancho up at his age.
I mean, Sancho must be looking at him thinking, God, how am I going to get a game? This kid's magic, right? Kid's the best thing I've ever seen.
Yes, indeed.
Honestly, though, England put this 2-minute video out of Mason Greenwood and his outrageous touches and his finishes. And the look of the other English players looking at him was just shock. Never seen anything like it.
He looked blooming stacked as well, didn't he?
He's ready for action, mate. Debut goal coming up.
He is indeed. Look, we've all been chatting about Donny van de Beek. We've been assessing where he might be able to play. We've been trying to work out what kind of a player he is from the games everyone's watched of him. But I thought, what better way to get an inside scoop on our new signing than to chat to an Ajax fanatic and the host of the number 1 Ajax podcast, Pat Charles. So yeah, we're learning more about the United number 34. Hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the 100% United pod, Arco Gnocchi of Pat Charles, Ajax's number 1 podcast. Good to have you on the show, Arco.
Thanks for having me, TC.
Look, I'm sure this isn't the topic you prefer to be talking about right now. I know Ajax fans are still mourning the exit of Donny van de Beek, so it's massively appreciated. Yeah, I know. Look, it's massively appreciated you coming on here today. Your club have been really classy throughout. You've shown class, obviously, coming on today. Look, we all know what it's like when a beloved player leaves the club, but when he's come through your academy, I'm sure you've got a line of replacements ready for him anyway. But how are you feeling right now, Arco?
Well, funny you should say that because he's a very, very hard person to replace, and I'm saying person deliberately, not just his position on the field, but as he encapsulates everything that Ajax stands for, I think. And of course, there's already a great 18-year-old in the lineup replacing him, but it's just different, Donny van de Beek has been, like you said, he's never played for a different club than Ajax. Yeah, and we actually, I'm 40 already, so I didn't grow up seeing him play. That would be too much, but he was quite an upcoming star in the youth leagues as well.
Yes.
and he was one of the players where you saw on YouTube, and you were like, yeah, this one's going to make it along with his mate Nouri, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, I think everyone agrees it's time. You know, it's fine that he leaves. I mean, we're so used to it by now.
Yeah.
Usually you would say like he's so young. Maybe he had 1 or 2 years with us, surely, but that's not the case with him. Especially in the last games he played, you could see like his mind was elsewhere. He was ready to move on. So we're at peace at some point until we start playing matches, of course.
Yes, as you say, I mean, he's been with you for 12 years. I was trying to think of an equivalent at United. We've had so many. We're the same as you. We love to bring people through our academy. It's our favourite thing as United fans. We love those players more than anyone. But we've been lucky enough. Pretty much all of the absolute crackers have stayed with us. I suppose David Beckham left.
Yeah.
Back in 2003, but it was a bit under a cloud. He had already rose to stardom with us. We had seen so much with him. It was almost the end of the relationship, if you like.
Exactly.
So yeah, I was trying to put myself in your shoes. I know you mentioned him coming through the youth system, and you say he was surrounded by so many other good players. We've seen them all come through, and some of them go on to pastures new. What did he really stand out that much? Was it his character that stood out, or just his all round play?
Well, yeah, he really had to fight to get noticed. I mean, he was very technical and fast on the ball, but he's part of a small version of what the class of '90 would have been.
Yes,
he was in this class with Bergwijn, who's at Tottenham right now, and obviously. Guys like De Jong, De Ligt. De Jong came later, but anyway, he was in a very, very talented class, but he had people saw his potential, and especially his Dennis Bergkamp nourished his talent, and Mr. Jacques Zwart, who's also called Mr. Ajax. He's not very internationally known, but he's one of the hallmarks of the club. But Bergkamp, who is his father-in-law now.
Yes,
really took a keen eye to him, and they gave him these essential pointers. He was a little kid, and you have a system, the youth system in Holland. You have the D1, the D2. That's this age, 10, 11-year-old.
Yes.
That's when you're going to have to break through. And he was in the D2, and they said, well, stay here, because in the D1, you're not gonna win that competition right now. And normally you always want to play at the highest possible level, of course. But he came up fairly slowly for an Ajax player. As an Ajax talent, you're supposed to shoot like a rocket to the stars, But he took a very sensible approach, and I think the season we went on to reach the semi-finals in the Champions League is the first season he really played as undisputed first 11 player.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with looking at that Champions League season, of course, as a fan, you get to see him in every single game. I have seen him in most of the big games, and he seems to pop up with very big goals. He seems to score in big away games as well, which I love from a player. Is that just his usual level, or does he rise to the occasion, do you think, when the pressure's on and the whole world's watching?
Well, he's great under pressure. I mean, I think loads of Ajax possible stars have this knack for, they turn up when they know the world is watching. The same players can, the players who mesmerized against Real Madrid were awful 2 weeks later, because there were no international clicking cameras. But he has this base level, even on a uninspired day, he's so crucial. He has this knack that you can't really. You have either you have it or you don't. You're like you said, he's in the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
he sends the crucial pass at the right crucial time. He has that sight, that insight of the game, and that's still rough. I mean, surely he's not like a undisputed player in the Dutch team yet. But that's what I like about what United is doing right now. They give players like these a chance who are massively talented and are right at the crisp of breaking through, making it big, and then giving them the final push, so to speak. As we always last year, we expected him to go to Real Madrid or to Barcelona, but then you have to be this fully developed star,
Yes.
just the top of the top, and he's obviously not there yet, but he can be, and I think United is the right place to make that next step, just like which is more begrudgingly accepted, but De Ligt going to
Yes.
Juventus, like fine tune your skills in the Serie A as a defender. That's great, and there's no better playground or training ground than the Premier League for a aspiring midfielder, of course.
Yes, I mean we've changed our tact a little
Yeah.
bit. We were throwing money around trying to get the best players we possibly could, and now we're trying to get the best players we can, but also players with great character as well.
Yeah.
And Van der Beek, we're looking at him. I just see fan favorite written all over him.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys who celebrates goals as if he's a fan, and he likes to get stuck in. And we've got a ready-made song for him as well. You guys, I've heard singing the Van der Beek na 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 song.
Yeah.
And
you can just copy paste that.
well, you know what I was going to say? It's actually one of our old favourites. One of our favourite sons, Nicky Butt.
Oh, right.
2 decades ago, we used to sing Nicky Butt.
Which is funny because like Scholes, but it's the same kind of player, and I think I'm not a keen United follower myself, but you could see that there's what's lacking is squad depth, in the
Yes.
FA Cup and in the semi-finals in the Euro Leagues. Just there was simply no one on the bench who can,
100%.
like turn a game around, and that's how he started at Ajax, and that's what he's about. And a lot of people are like, well, how is he ever going to get himself into the starting lineup? But he's sensible enough to not make that an urgent goal. He's going to prove he's so valuable, and well, like I said, calling him a utility player is an understatement. That doesn't do him right, but he is so versatile. He will always be helpful, and he's so down to earth, like you said, for a fan favorite. He won't be the guy crashing his Ferrari on 3 o'clock in the night anytime soon. He just goes. You spot him fishing along the river, in next to the stadium. That he's more that kind of guy.
We got plenty of water around Manchester.
Yeah, I know.
What I'd ask you, Marco, is before we get into those different positions he can play, if you had to pinpoint what his absolutely best position was, what would you say personally?
As an attacking midfielder, I think he has. In the end, that will be his best position. But
Yes.
now, I would say you could use him more like Wijnaldum at Liverpool.
Yeah.
So going from box to box, or just fetching balls and then like turning around and giving the decisive pass, just like never actually leaving the center circle on the midfield. That's how we will feel. But
Yes.
in the end, in the stats, you will see he'll make the most miles or kilometers.
Fantastic.
But, yeah.
And this is, I mean, when you watch bits and pieces of a player, it's always best to ask someone who has watched the club week in, week out. I mean, you know more about Ajax and Van der Beek than the British media who are trying to explain what he does do. Can he play defensive midfield? Could he play in a 3 with, say, for instance, Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes? Or are you risking getting totally overrun there?
I think against quote unquote lesser opponents, you could definitely do that because it brings a lot of football into the defensive midfielder position.
Yes.
But I think if you're playing against, again, a Liverpool or a team who's very fast in the turnaround, then you need someone who hangs back a bit, and because he has this drive forward. He wants to be there where it happens when you're scoring goals, and he's not that fast or that agile yet that he can do both. But I think that's how you could best use him in the start. Like if you're in the FA Cup or in Europe and you want to press press quickly, make that first goal quickly, then he's your man on the more defensive position. Definitely, yeah. Especially if
Superb.
Solskjaer can get the other two to sort of fill in the gaps a little bit.
Yes. Well, you know what? It's one of the things we've struggled with earlier in the season before Bruno Fernandes arrived, and that was breaking down the smaller teams against the bigger teams. We were up for the game. We had a tactical plan to get stuck into them. So to have that extra option is going to just be superb to keep the other team guessing, but also to give Bruno and Pogba a rest, because we almost ran Bruno Fernandes into the ground.
Yeah, he showed up and he never stopped playing, I think, until last week.
Yeah,
he never
we loved him so much. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I can see. I mean, from what I've gathered about Van der Beek, that he can obviously play instead of Bruno and let Bruno have a rest, but being able to cover all those midfield positions is a godsend for us.
And he's a player as well. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
You know, like I'm 100% sure, like players like Bruno Fernandes will really, really relish playing with him. You know, because he breathes pure football, and he just wants to. He's a team player. You know, he doesn't wants to take shine of Pogba or Fernandes or anyone. He just wants, you know, to be at the base of a goal. I mean, last season, Hakim Ziyech, who obviously went to Chelsea last summer, got all the shine, and rightly so. But you know, if you rewind all those goals, you know, at the start of most of those goals is a decisive action by Van der Beek, and that will happen here as well.
Superb. If you had to highlight, look, we talk all about his strengths. If you had to highlight any weaknesses in his game at the moment, what would you flag up particularly?
Well, it's a bit harsh judging someone who's that young, but I think personality-wise, you know, we had a lot of games that Ajax was not showing up, like we discussed earlier, and I mean he was showing up mentally himself, but he's not someone who can, you know, force the others. I compared him to Paul Scholes earlier, and he, you know, he has this personality, like, not on my watch. No, you know, this is not going to happen, and he can get a bit more of that killer attitude, but that will come. Like he got his place in the starting 11 at Ajax, and he will do so at the Dutch national team eventually. But he needs to, you know, I think a locker room in the Premier League will do that quickly with you. Either you get eaten alive, or you know you stand your ground.
Don't worry. Bruno will soon get him on his game. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, hose him down.
and I think he won't have a problem with the Dutch team now Koeman's gone, because I heard that Koeman was sleeping in the same bed as Wijnaldum at times.
I think he already has a bunk for him at Barcelona in store. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Look, lots of people love to compare players to other players. Now, from what I've seen, and with the players that were mentioned, the kind of similarity between the players were that they were all unique. Van der Beek seems like he's a unique player, but I've heard names like, you know, a kind of more productive Herrera, a kind of Thomas Muller, a Frank Lampard, who are all actually very different players, really. Is there one player that you would say that he is akin to, or is he just one of a kind?
You mean like someone in a United fan would know? Like, I can name some Dutch greats, but no, I think
give us a Dutch great as well from the past. I'm sure we all know we've had a rich history of Dutch players ourselves. In fact, he's the 13th Dutch guy to play for United.
13th already,
which puts in. Yeah. We've had 12 Frenchmen, and now the Dutch nationality is the highest foreign nationality to play for United. Yeah.
I tend to ignore all these PSV Eindhoven players who went there, but of course those add up. No. Let me stick to the Premier League for comprehensive reasons. I mean, it's always hard to compare it to the greats, because that puts so much pressure on a young player who hasn't played a minute for your club yet. But you know, if you take some of Lampard, you take some of Gerrard, and you take some of Scholes, and and there's the attacking abilities of, well, yeah, let's see, who was your Scholes was not that forward minded,
Well,
right?
Scholes, he actually started off as a striker.
Oh, really?
He started off as a striker, and then he went back, and he went back, and he went back, and he ended up just in front of the centre backs, trying to beat people on the edge of his own box. But but yeah, he was originally, but then withdrew as time went by.
Yeah. No, I still have to stick with then the Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes mix. All put them in a blender, and you get this Donny van de Beek smoothie that you'll really enjoy.
As if we weren't excited enough already.
It's such a good buy, because normally if an Ajax player of this age moves to a high pressure environment, you would be like, well, will he cut it? But he was at Tottenham away, at Madrid in the quarterfinals.
Yes.
He was unmoved. I mean, he can handle the pressure. I mean, and then to get him for like I said, you only have to add the finishing touch. And
yes.
I really hope that he gets the chance to prove that he's up for it.
Am I right in thinking, I don't know if it's my memory playing tricks on me, but I'm sure in one of those games he was almost playing as a blooming false nine.
Yeah.
In one of those big games. Is that right?
Yeah, that tends to be like this kamikaze tactics, like, because the pressure, like putting the pressure up so high that he's almost at the goal line, but that was at the point where the players were like besides themselves in this glistening form, and he would be back at the own penalty area in 3.5 seconds. That's just what happens at teams when everything clicks.
Yeah. And don't worry, I felt your pain that season. You were my last hope to stop Liverpool.
Yeah.
And,
no, we'll never know if we would have mounted to the challenge, but I would have loved to see it. Yeah.
Just a little bit on the price. Look, it's 39 million euros up front, rising up to 44 million in add-ons. To me, in the current climate, it seems like a bit of a bargain. I'm hearing he might have had an existing agreement with Ajax.
Yeah.
There was an agreement maybe for about 50 million euros with Real Madrid before the pandemic hit. Am I right in thinking this is a bargain, or was it agreed with him last summer maybe?
Yeah, it was. The bargain, I mean, it's so weird to talk about a bargain if you're talking about 39 million euros, but the thing that what makes it a bargain is usually, that would be the opening bid, and they would like take weeks for it to settle down. But he's been, last season he said, no, I'll turn off my phone and I'll stay 1 year regardless. And, being a boy of the club, you have to really reward that. And of course, Ajax would have loved the 50 from Real. But
yes.
This is one of those exceptions where you say, well, we can tell that it's time for you to leave, and where you've always been loyal, and I think they, of course I wasn't there, but they accepted the very first offer United made. So that saves everyone a lot of energy, and all these other clubs who thought they could get in a bid in the last minute were just shut out. And I like that kind of doing that way of business. There's zero fuzz. It's just book open, book closed, and that's how it should go with players who've been disloyal.
Yeah, we like it too. I mean, we're trying to deal with Borussia Dortmund at the moment. It's night and day. I think the way Ajax have dealt with us and the way Dortmund have.
That saga has been going on longer than the war in Afghanistan, mate. But it's still no definite no, right?
No, it's still not. I'm still very confident. But as you know, the longer you leave it, the more you leave the door open to different things happening. Look, just like we just discussed, Real Madrid had Van de Beek. It was sorted. And then things happen that are out of your control. So, yeah, I've got my fingers crossed on that one. Before I just have a word with you about another one of our ex-players who's actually leading your club, Edwin van der Sar, just a little word on Van de Beek taking the number 34 shirt. Of course, a massive sort of connection with your Ajax fans and his old pal, Abdelak Nouri. And of course, we just saw this week, or was it last week, Daily Blind went down.
Yeah.
Obviously, an ex-United player who we loved. I know my co-host Scott absolutely loved Daley Blind. So yeah, just a word about that and how Daley's doing.
Yeah, the only thing I know is that he's doing fine, like health-wise, personally. I mean, he can just walk around and
Yeah.
he's enjoying his time. But I'm not. There's nothing on when he will return, if he even will return. I mean, it will
Really?
be such a heartbreak if he has to quit football. I'm just. This is speculative. There's nothing
Yes.
indicating that this is the case, but it's in the realm of possibilities, and that would be terrible.
Yeah.
Of course, for us, it's unbearable that the only international prize he won against us with Mourinho, no less. But but in the end, he came back in his prime. So
Yes.
he's got that going for him, and his dad was an absolute legend as an Ajax captain as well, and
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
and aside from that, we well, it sounds a bit arrogant to say we passed on him, but Vertonghen was free, and he's a very good friend with Daley Blind, and they were like, no, we're not going to compete for the same position, and it's never
Yeah.
going to work. So he went, or maybe he didn't even want to play in the Dutch competition. But anyway, that's how it came across. Like, I'm not going to sign for Ajax, unfortunately, because I'm not going to compete with my friend. And now, the position is completely up for grabs.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
we really, like you said, he's such a good bloke, and we really wanted to end in a different way.
Yeah.
And he's part of the plan, like you said, Edwin van der Sar. He as a goalkeeper, he was like he was so affable. He was this goofy looking guy with mad reflexes. But no one ever thought like he's going to run the club one day. That's not uh, his persona. We thought, but Johan Cruyff saw it otherwise, and but I think that the link with United is still very strong. I think Van der Sar, I think, is over in Manchester quite often.
Yes.
I think if we ever are to speak again on the podcast, it will be to discuss his step to your club.
That was exactly what I was going to ask you, actually. Look, we've been crying out for a director of football for a long time. We get a press release about every 4 months saying, oh, we're looking for a director of football. And we all go, yeah, we know you are. Or are you? We desperately need football people at the highest level of the club making those decisions. And what has he changed? What has he changed at Ajax? He seems to be getting involved quite a lot in the business side. He's actually CEO, not director of football, for any United fans who don't know. But what has he changed in terms of the structure?
Well, when he started off in that position, everybody thought he would be just a front. He like the guy who opens doors when you're going to do business in China or abroad anyway. And nothing more would be asked of him. But he's so competitive. He's that's in his DNA, and he just really wanted to own the position, not just be like a hand to shake. And I don't think he might not be all of a sudden the most shrewd businessman ever, but he's surrounded by them, and he makes them compete on the top of their abilities, just like he did with the players around him when he was still on the field. And he literally found his voice. Like the first times he went onto the pitch to address the stadium, or he was in front of the press, it was just this meager voice, and now he has this commanding, authoritarian, what I say goes kind of way of talking.
Yes, it's a very interesting transition, isn't it?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, he's look, I absolutely love the guy. He gave me one of the very best nights of my life in Moscow.
Yes,
in the rain that day.
Moscow in the rain. Yes.
Oh, mate, I tell you what, unbelievable. But yeah, he filled that gaping hole that was left when Peter Schmeichel, of course, left. We struggled for years to find a keeper with the character and with the skills to replace him.
Yeah.
And Van der Sar allowed us to take that next step towards, European glory again and getting back in the mix as a a dominating Premiership force. So yeah, we always have a massive affinity with him, and yeah, it's great to see him doing such a great job. And yeah, like I say, the business between the two clubs with him at the helm has been a joy to watch from afar.
Yeah, and I think looking from afar, United always comes across as a club that it's not for everyone. I mean, you can be a great player, but just not fit in just how
100%.
this complicated, club structure works. And he's on the opposite end. I mean, it fit him like a glove. But and he's always so. So he speaks very positively of the club. So yeah, I'm sure there's something. But I do think with him and Ten Hag, the manager, and Overmars and Blind, they were on this plan to have one more go at it. I don't necessarily mean winning the Champions League, but like making it big in Europe. Getting to the semis one more time, or winning the Europa League, something that you can tell that they're on a mission, and afterwards they can leave through the front door, so to speak. But that has to happen this season, I think. Otherwise, they're running out of time.
Yeah, you've a lot of very good players have left, haven't they, in the last couple of years?
It's such a fast turnaround at the moment.
Yeah, you've always got another one coming through, so I'm sure you'll be fine. But you're spot on about Manchester United and the fact that a player can come in and look like they're an absolute world beater, and they get eaten alive by the pressure. And we see them. I mean, we had Alexis Sanchez saying this morning that after his first day that he wanted to leave, which was nice to know with paying him that big wage. But yeah, you get players who seem like they should take it over. But you don't have any doubts about Donny. You think he's the man for the job?
I do really think so. Yeah, I think because of the atmosphere which I perceive that is at the club, it's this global, multi national corporation, but in essence, it's this Northern English, really down to earth style bunch of lads, and that's really what he's about. So I really have trust in him in that aspect. But yeah, maybe next week Solskjaer will get fired and he won't play a minute, and he gets sold to Arsenal in the winter. I mean, you know how football is, but.
I do indeed, but Ollie's here to stay for a little while. I think they really seem to want to make it work. So yeah, I think he'll be all right. But listen, Arco, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been great getting the insight on Van der Beek. And am I saying it right, Van der Beek?
Van der Beek, yeah.
Yeah, great to get the insight. As I say, as an Ajax fan and guy who runs such a big podcast, getting your insight has just been fantastic. Look, you can find Arco on Twitter at Arsenio, ARCINHO. And if you speak Dutch, then the Pak School podcast is an absolute must. Thanks for joining me, Arco. Good luck this season.
Thanks, DC. Have a good one.
Take care.
God, that's a bloody good chat, TC. How'd you get all that information out of him in such a short time?
He's a great guy. I mean, fantastic for someone. Look, imagine you just sold a player to another club and you have to go on another person's podcast who support that team, is all excited about it and chat about what you're giving them, basically. But as Ajax have done, he showed loads of class in doing that, and interesting stuff in terms of his best position. Of course, saying that he is an attacking midfielder, but at the moment he's probably better as a number 8, and also saying that he can do a job in that 3 with Pogba and Bruno against the lesser sizes. Exactly what we said a few days ago.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited about it. I think he's going to be one of those players who just starts the really important games, right? And one of those Ji-sung Park, Darren Fletcher's just integral, immovable cogs in the engine.
Yeah, and I know you love a player with a load of character, and he couldn't sing high enough praises over Donny van der Beek's character. So that was another thing. Look, if you weren't excited already about the signing, I think you'll be a lot more excited after listening to that chat. So great stuff from Arco there.
Yeah, and what I said to you yesterday, it's a clever sale from Ajax, right? Because they know the chance that in a few years he's going to come back to them from us for a cut price fee. The chance of that is much higher than any other club he was linked to.
Yes, Yeah, and good and great to hear that that Daley Blin's doing well as well from him. Obviously, question marks over his future, but the main thing is the guy's health. So yeah, great stuff as well there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a class that runs through that club, right? It's infectious.
There is indeed, and nice words about Edwin van der Sar as well. So hopefully we'll be having another chat. We've agreed that if we can take Edwin van der Sar as our director of football, I'll have Arco on again. So great stuff.
I think he should be our next target after Sancho, right? Get Sancho in, next target Van der Sar.
There'll be a press release in a couple of months, Scott. Don't worry about that, and then we won't hear anything else about it.
Yeah. Never hear from it again. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, thanks for joining us again, everyone. Make sure you subscribe to the 100% United pod on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your pods. Follow our Instagram at United100podcast and get on our Twitter too at United100pod. We'll be back on Monday. Until then, thanks for joining me again, Scott.
Thank you, TC.
Take care. Cheerio, Reds.
Ta-ra.